Good evening. Thank you for joining tonight's webinar. We will begin at 7:02 p.m. Hello, I'm Ebony Freeman, and I'm the Marketing and Communications Manager here at the Knowles Teacher Initiative. Thank you for joining us for tonight's presentation, which will provide an overview of the Knowles Teacher Initiative and our Teaching Fellows program. During this evening's presentation, we encourage you to use the Q&A box on your screen to ask any questions you might have. I'll relay those questions to Jen throughout the presentation. I'll also be sorting them to make sure that we get to all of your questions, and also typing responses that you'll be able to see as the presentation goes on, as time permits. Without further ado, I'll turn the presentation over to Jen.
Thank you, Ebony.
You're welcome.
The Knowles Teacher Initiative was established by Janet and Harry Knowles in 1999 to support high school science and math teachers and ultimately to improve math and science education in the United States. At Knowles, we believe that teachers can and should be the primary agents of educational improvement. This belief is woven throughout all aspects of the Foundation's programming, including our Teaching Fellows program, which is what we'll be discussing today. Today, I'll outline an overview of the Teaching Fellow program and the benefits of being a fellow. Next, I'll discuss how to apply for the fellowship, including our eligibility requirements and the application process. So let's begin with an overview of the program. While new teachers are going through a certification or licensure program, they're often surrounded by a cohort of other new teachers and have a dedicated mentor or mentors that are with them in their classroom almost all the time. In addition, because they are usually connected to college campuses, they often have access to many resources, including journals, experienced folks for support, and classroom materials. The first few years of teaching, then, can be somewhat jarring for new teachers. Often, new teachers have a sense of isolation as they navigate their new school environment. Mentoring programs, in some cases, just aren't as supportive or comprehensive as teachers need them to be. And schools aren't always able to provide the intellectual resources through professional development or the physical classroom materials that new teachers need in order to be able to enact the vision of teaching in their classroom that they want. While they are attempting to learn a challenging new profession, they find themselves under-supported and under-resourced. Kelly's quote here speaks to how the Knowles Teaching Fellowship program supports new teachers. I'll give you a moment to read the quote. Our fellowship was designed specifically to address some of the challenges faced by new high school math and science teachers to help them thrive as new teachers and become teacher leaders who are able to support other teachers and to improve math and science education for all students. The Knowles Teaching Fellow Program is an intensive and cohesive 5-year program that supports early career secondary math and science teachers in their efforts to develop teaching expertise and lead from their classroom. Each year, we award approximately 35 fellowships to new math and science teachers who have outstanding content knowledge in math or science, are committed to becoming great teachers, and possess the potential to become the kind of teacher leaders who make a difference in schools. The fellowship has 2 phases. In phase 1, the first 3 years of the program, fellows work in 3 main areas. They reflect on and deepen their own mathematics and science knowledge to develop the specialized forms of content knowledge that are needed for teaching, and use that knowledge to create profound learning opportunities for students. Fellows also earn increasingly sophisticated ways of examining their classroom cultures and instruction by applying a variety of analytical lenses to data that help them see and then increase the learning opportunities being offered to all of their students. While focusing on these areas, fellows are also supported in becoming a community of inquiry that engages with and as critical friends. This emphasis on inquiry into your classroom with others serves as the foundation for teachers leading from their classroom. In phase 2, which is the last 2 years of the program, the focus of the work and inquiries shift from the fellows' classroom to their professional community in which they work. Fellows are supported in bringing in their school colleagues into their work, which requires that they make themselves vulnerable and open to other perspectives. Fellows grapple with their own professional goals and commitments and what it means for them to lead in their context. Additionally, they learn to understand their school and local community as a system, understand multiple leverage points for change, and experiment with ways to lead those communities toward better outcomes. Through all of this, we support the fellows to think about making their work and learnings more public in various ways. In addition to the curriculum of the fellowship that I just described, equally important to the impact of our program is the use of cohorts to build connection and community. We built our fellows program on a cohort model that allows fellows to connect with peers who are at roughly the same point in their teaching careers. And as our fellows finish the Teaching Fellow program, they tell us that there has been no greater professional support than that which comes from the cohort of teachers who go through the fellowship with them. The groups that fellows form in their cohorts allow them to experience what a small inquiry-focused learning community looks and feels like, and allows them to experiment with various roles teachers might play in those communities. Through this, fellows are supported to reimagine and strengthen their working relationships in their own high schools. Teachers who wish to make a significant impact in their classroom and schools must seek equitable outcomes for all students. We know the U.S. educational system has traditionally marginalized some learners, leaving them without access to equitable instruction in high school math and science. This then has led to fewer opportunities for students to engage as empowered citizens or to enter and thrive in mathematics and science fields. Improving education for all students in the United States requires teachers who are able to work collectively with a wide range of colleagues and stakeholders in order to combat inequities and create more equitable spaces for all students to learn math and science. Ultimately, our goal is to support the development of teachers who recognize their role and their power in the school system and beyond, and feel empowered to impact that system in support of more equitable outcomes for students. As such, equity and inclusion are a key thread of the Knowles Teaching Fellowship. Over the course of the 5-year program, fellows investigate how their personal identity influences equitable instruction, how teachers influence equity within their classroom and their school community, and how teachers can grow their circle of influence. Specifically, fellows engage in learning experiences that support their development across 3 levels of transformation with respect to equity and inclusion: personal, interpersonal, and systemic. The Knowles Summer Conference is the official start to each fellowship year. This 3-day meeting takes place in July, usually in Philadelphia. It is a distinctive event that brings together members of the Knowles community, typically around 250 participants, to interact with, learn from, and provide critical feedback to each other within a variety of settings and structures. All cohorts of teaching fellows attend the meeting, along with many senior fellows who are engaged in specific activities related to summer conference, and staff and other experts in math and science education also attend. The summer conference is divided between opportunities for fellows to work within cohorts and opportunities for them to engage with the wider community. In the mornings, teaching fellows begin the work of the year that is aligned with the specific goals of the phase of the fellowship which they are in. In the afternoons, meeting participants attend their choice of learning sessions that have been proposed, reviewed, designed, and led by fellows. These learning sessions may be structured as interactive presentations, a workshop, a collaborative learning group. Fellows who lead these sessions are provided with a coach who's a Knowles Senior Fellow that has participated in our coaching institute. Coaches support session leaders to establish learning goals and then evaluate the effectiveness of their session. Fellows also choose a book to read together each summer and organize a variety of unconference style discussions about the book throughout the meeting. And last, the fellows have opportunities to organize informal discussions over meals and during meeting breaks that allow them to find common ground, organize working groups, and discuss topics that interest them. For many fellows like Sarah, a science teacher in Queens, New York, the Knowles Summer Conference is often the first time they present at a professional conference. I'll give you a moment to read her quote. As such, this conference can lay the groundwork for sharing the knowledge that fellows generate with peers on the local, state, and national level. In addition to the Knowles Summer Conference, we bring all members of a cohort together twice a year to meet in person. It is a significant investment, but a crucial piece of our support of beginning teachers. Meeting in person serves several important purposes. First, our staff plan and implement professional development sessions for fellows that introduce fellows to important new ideas in the fields of math and science education and teacher leadership. We support fellows in considering critically how those ideas make sense in their local context. And we equip fellows to plan for implementing changes to their practice as teachers and leaders. Second, while our fellows engage in robust work online, the intense time they spend with one another at meetings, at meals, and even into the evening socializing, these serve as critical components of community building. Finally, while we strive to be careful stewards of Knowles resources, we also recognize that teachers deserve to be treated like professionals. To that end, we make sure that fellows are treated well. We eat good food together, and we make sure our meeting sites are pleasant places to be and work together. Olivia Bean, a chemistry teacher in Portland, Maine, shared this reflection about attending Knowles events. Quote, "The biggest impact has been about always improving and changing. Every time I participate in a Knowles event, I end up with at least one new thing I want to incorporate into my practice." Before switching gears to discuss the benefits available to Knowles Teaching Fellows, I'd like to briefly highlight our Senior Fellow program. After completing the 5th year of the fellowship, Teaching Fellows become Senior Fellows. Through the Senior Fellows program, former Teaching Fellows have the opportunity to remain involved in the Knowles community throughout their careers and to be supported in ongoing leadership efforts. Knowles Senior Fellows continue to be supported as teacher leaders. We have programs that support them to lead professional development and coach other teachers. We have a Senior Fellow-run journal that features teacher voices and gives them a platform to speak to other teachers and others within the educational system. Senior Fellows continue to innovate and design new instructional approaches as instructional leaders. Once someone becomes a Teaching Fellow, our support, we hope, is career-long. Next, I'll provide a brief overview of fellowship benefits. Knowles Teaching Fellows receive a comprehensive array of benefits that are designed to support new teachers and emerging teacher leaders. These benefits include financial support, mentoring and coaching, and membership into a nationwide community of peers. We support fellows financially by offering grants to cover expenses associated with purchasing classroom materials and engaging in professional development. Fellows are also eligible to request funds to develop and execute leadership activities that have an impact beyond their own classroom. In addition to the grants, the fellows are eligible to receive stipends. We recognize that our fellows are highly accomplished and have often made sacrifices, both in money spent on teacher preparation and opportunity costs incurred by choosing a lower paying profession. The stipends allow fellows to possibly reduce debts that they may have incurred and reduce the financial burden that teachers often bear, both of which are factors that contribute to sustainability in the profession. Alternatively, stipends can be used to support fellows financially during the summer months, allowing them to concentrate on reflecting on the past year, preparing for the upcoming year, and engage in professional development rather than taking on a part-time job during the summer, as many teachers need to do. In total, fellows are eligible to access more than $50,000 in financial support over the 5 years of the fellowship. This is above and beyond the professional development and support they receive through the fellowship work that I described earlier. And just a little note here, the various grants and stipends are subject to board approval on an annual basis. We value the expertise and knowledge of skillful teachers, which is why we support our fellows with mentors and coaches. In fact, we recruit staff with significant teaching experience to support our fellows. Our experienced teaching fellow staff, with over 100 years of combined teaching experience, view themselves first and foremost as teachers. Our staff regularly check in with fellows, supporting them to plan and reflect on instruction, talk them through challenging professional dilemmas, and support them through some challenges. Staff observe fellows teach either virtually or in person and coach them into improvement in a way that the fellow directs. In addition to staff, each team supports fellows with 2 or 3 veteran teachers, most of them with over 20 years of experience as both teachers and teacher leaders. These team specialists bring on-the-ground experience and credibility. They attend meetings, support fellows in their inquiry, and provide counsel as true master teachers. Again, Knowles Fellows are able to tap into a support network of more than 450 teachers who are committed to improving math and science education. From in-person conversations that take place at meetings to virtual conversations that take place on our online community, invaluable support is just mere moments away. Next, we'll discuss eligibility. Prospective applicants must meet the following eligibility requirements. The fellowship seeks to support individuals who intend to make teaching their primary career. In order to be eligible for the fellowship, applicants must have recent knowledge of the content they intend to teach. Specifically for this year, applicants must have earned a related degree between 2013 and September 1, 2023. Additionally, applicants must have earned a secondary certification somewhere between January 1, 2018 and September 1, 2023, with the goal of teaching full-time in a high school math or science classroom no later than the fall of 2023. Last, the fellowship is intended to support teachers who are first or second year teachers during the first year of the fellowship. However, we are really excited to share that for this year only, we will expand eligibility to include teachers who are entering their 3rd year of teaching in fall of 2023. For the purpose of eligibility, we consider an applicant's first year of teaching to be the first year in which they teach full-time for the full academic year as the teacher of record. We recognize that even with these specific criteria, it's certainly possible that you'll have specific questions about your situation. And we want to make sure that you're able to confirm your eligibility before investing the time needed to apply for our fellowship. If you have any questions regarding eligibility, please send your inquiry to apply@knowlesteachers.org, and we'll be sure to reply quickly. Last, I'd like to highlight the application process. The application process for 2023 has 3 parts. To be considered for a 2023 Knowles Teaching Fellowship, applicants must submit an online application, participate in individual interviews, and participate in group interviews. And I'll briefly describe each of those now. As part of the application process, applicants are required to write 3 essays and obtain 3 letters of recommendation describing how they meet each of our 3 criteria, which I'll describe momentarily. In addition, all applicants submit a CV or resume and unofficial transcripts from all of their college experiences. The application is now open and it closes at 11:59 p.m. PST on January 8th, 2023. You can visit our website at www.knowlesteachers.org/apply to learn more, and then click on the apply button to begin the process. Following a review of written applications, semifinalists will be identified. Applicants who are selected as semifinalists will receive an email in early February inviting them to schedule a Zoom interview. The individual interview will last approximately 1 hour, and it's designed to help us learn more about applicants with respect to our 3 criteria. We may ask about experiences applicants wrote about in their essays or information contained in their transcripts or letters of recommendation, in addition to some other questions. If an applicant is selected as a finalist, we will invite them to participate in group interviews, which will take place virtually on Saturday, April 29th, 2023. The group interviews will take place throughout the day, beginning at 10 a.m. Eastern, and may go well into the evening. Participation in all of the activities is mandatory, and none of these activities can be rescheduled. An applicant should make sure they are eligible throughout the day on April 29th. If an applicant is selected as a finalist, but determines later that they cannot attend the group interviews, their application will need to be declined at that point. As I mentioned earlier, we have 3 selection criteria. And each year we evaluate the applicants with regard to them. Successful fellowship applicants possess the potential to develop the content knowledge needed for teaching, exemplary teaching practices, and the qualities of a teacher leader. The first of our criteria is the potential to develop the content knowledge needed for teaching. On our website, you can find a full description of this criterion. In short, we're looking for people who have a strong preparation in their content discipline and who have the potential to develop the specialized content knowledge that teachers need to teach well. We do expect that fellows will have at least a bachelor's degree in a field connected to the subject they intend to teach. This does not necessarily mean that if an applicant intends to teach math, for example, that they must have a degree in math. Some of our math fellows have degrees in engineering or other related fields. But it does mean that an applicant should have significant depth, breadth, and interconnectedness of knowledge from the coursework they have taken. In general, successful candidates tend to have at least a 3.0 GPA in their college coursework, and especially in their math or science coursework. In addition to evaluating a candidate's coursework, we also look at an applicant's response to the essay and the letter of recommendation that were both written to address content knowledge for teaching. We also consider any awards, honors, internships, or other distinctive content-related experiences that they have had. I do want to say an additional word about the letter of recommendation. You'll notice that I said that the letter of recommendation written to address content knowledge. It's important to realize that the 3 letters of recommendation are all written to different criteria. For each of the criteria, we are seeking someone who can directly address a candidate's potential within that criterion, not just a general letter of recommendation. When you enter recommenders into our online system, you'll indicate which recommender you want to address each criterion. So for content knowledge, it should be someone who can speak to your math or science background and understanding and how that might impact you as a teacher. The second criterion focuses on an applicant's potential to develop exemplary teaching practices, Again, you can find a full description of this criterion on our website. In short, we're seeking candidates who are deeply committed to teaching math or science at the high school level, who understand that teaching is a complex endeavor that requires significant investment and continued growth, and who have a well-developed habit of reflection that allows them to learn from their experiences. They also critically examine their own practices with the goal of leveraging these strengths and promoting equitable learning opportunities for all students. When assessing an applicant's potential in this area, we will look at the associated essay as well as resume or CV. Typically, the letter of recommendation for this criterion is written by someone who knows the candidate's potential as a teacher. The third selection criterion is the potential to develop the qualities of a teacher leader. The Knowles Teacher Initiative is committed to the belief that teachers can and should be change agents in education. Knowles seeks candidates who have developed their capacity for collaborative leadership in previous experiences and demonstrate the propensity to continue to develop as leaders in and from the classroom. We review the essay written for leadership as well as the resume or CV. Letters of recommendation for this criterion speak to the candidate's leadership potential and may not necessarily be someone who knows the candidate from an academic or teaching setting. So at this time, I'm going to pause and open the floor for questions.
If you have any questions at this time, please enter them in the Q&A box. We'll be happy to answer them.
Another few seconds for any more questions to come in.
Okay. I have a question, Jen. Are you able to have more than one letter of recommendation for each of the areas?
That's a great question. For each criterion, you can only have one. So you need a total of 3, but only one for each criterion.
Thank you, Jen.
Any others? Okay, good.
Not right now. I will give a little more information and maybe we'll have a few more questions before we close out. To learn more about our fellowship or the application process, please visit our website. If you are eligible, I encourage you to scan the QR code shown here to start your application, which will only take a few moments. If you have any questions that were not addressed in the presentation or on our website, please contact us via email at apply@knowlesteachers.org for assistance. And I'll pause just for a few more seconds in case there are any burning questions that someone would like to ask tonight. Okay. Is there a calendar or schedule resource available that covers the dates and events that occur throughout the year as part of the fellowship? Let's see, I'll read that again. Is there, I believe this attendee is looking for a listing of important dates as part of the fellowship.
Yeah, so the information for like all of the application parts is on the website, but for if awarded a fellowship, we do know the dates for every summer conference for the next few years. We have those all 5 years out in advance. And it's with very rare exceptions, it's always the last full weekend of July. But the cohort meetings are always determined by June 1 of the year. And we seek input from fellows in terms of availability and such. So we try to find a weekend where everyone's available. But they always occur, the fall meeting occurs in October or November, and the spring meeting occurs usually in March or April, sometimes the last part of February, depending on availability.
Thanks, Jen. If that did not answer your question, please enter a little more clarification in chat or in the question and answer box, and we'd be happy to answer it. At this time, there are no further questions. Thank you so much, everyone, for your time and attention, and have a great evening.
Thank you, everyone.